All right, welcome to JavaScript for Beginners, part one. This is my third tutorial. I did one on, well, actually, it's like a fourth tutorial. I did one on C++, had nothing to do with this, but I did do one on HTML and another one on cascading style sheets, which I strongly recommend you watch before you start with JavaScript, because the main purpose of JavaScript is to change the contents to make a web page interactive. So what is JavaScript? Well, JavaScript is a scripting or programming language that allows you to implement complex features on web pages, displaying timely content updates, interactive maps, animated 2D, 3D graphics, scrolling video, jukeboxes, etc. And I got this from the developer.mozilla.org, so I'm giving them full credit. It works by altering or modifying HTML and CSS on the web page. So if you have a web page, HTML is going to make your web page. CSS is going to give it color and change, the styles and all these things. And then JavaScript is going to make it interactive, right? What do you need for it? Well, if you're watching this video over the web, you have a browser that supports JavaScript. So it works with all major browsers, i.e. Safari, Edge, Opera, and it works with Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, and more. And the examples, because I will be doing examples on this. I'm using Safari on a Mac OS, right? So, but it works on everything. And what do you need to use JavaScript? Well, basic knowledge of HTML and CSS, since JavaScript will modify the elements of the web page. So you really, like I said, I encourage you to watch my tutorials on HTML and CSS if you don't already. And some basic programming will definitely help, although for this tutorial, you don't really need it, but it's really strong, suggested that you know some kind of programming, any language, doesn't matter which one it is. I'll be covering in this video how to use inline scripts, basically, right? Using the get element, the onclick, basically, and the onclick is what we use to do inline scripts. The syntax, we'll use scripts in a script tag, whether it's on the head or the body, doesn't matter. It could be either way. Then I'll show you how to do external files, basically putting the scripts in a separate file. That's all it is. And doing functions, some basic arithmetic. Obviously, it's from the first example, we'll be using the inner HTML, but I'm also going to cover the write function and explain the difference. And we'll do the alert as well. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's full of I had a full 5-6 examples, step by step. So let's get to it, folks. So here we are with our first example on JavaScript. As you can see on the right, I'm using brackets. On the left, I have Safari, a document whose title is title with a blank document in the body, and that's all I see on the document itself. So let's go ahead and change the title. The title will be my first JavaScript example. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do a paragraph, and I'm gonna give it an ID. The ID will be equal A. It can be any name, of course. It's just an ID. And I'm gonna put in some random text that will change. Now I'm gonna use a button. The type will be button, of course. And this is how we're gonna invoke JavaScript. We're gonna use something called onclick. And whatever's inside onclick is what we're telling it to do in JavaScript, basically. So I'm gonna do document dot get element by ID, right? And so what I'm telling is like, look, go look for this. And then for that, inner HTML, meaning replace what's in there. And it'll be my first JavaScript example. And I'm going to close that. And after, I'm going to use a different type of quote because I don't want you to get confused with the fact that the onclick has a double quote, and the inner HTML will use a single quote, okay? And I'm just gonna put here, click me. So, when I click on the button, it's supposed to change this text, which is under the ID of A, to my first JavaScript example. So I'm gonna go here, reload it, some random text that will change, and I click, and my first JavaScript example. So that is how JavaScript works. Because of the way HTML is a smart a way of doing things. What if we had a CSS? What if we have a cascading style sheet in here? And we'll use the same example. We'll just add this. We'll put in style, which of course is how we add styles. And we're gonna use this. We're gonna do A with the pound, right? Pound A. And I'm gonna do color red, right? And that's it. That's you can do. So because I have the IDA and I have it here color red, I'm gonna go ahead and actually I'm gonna save it. Of course I have to save it. I'm gonna reload. So you can see that the red is here. See, I'm telling it, CSS is telling it do the red text. And when I click me, my first JavaScript example. See, so just because it's using an ID, the ID can be used in both my cascading style sheets and my JavaScript. So that is the first example of how to use JavaScript. Now let's look at another example. So it's time to do our second example. Let's give this example the title of my second JavaScript example. And we're going to do something very simple. I have a couple images in my directory to work with. It's a house. One's called color house and the other one black and white house, or backwards. So we're going to do an image. And I'm going to give the image an ID. We have to give it an ID. So we'll do my image. And the source of this will be house. And you can see here I have house color, house black and white. And then I'm going to modify it a little bit. I'm going to do CSS. So I'm going to, with the style, I'm going to change the width to 150 pixels because I don't want a big house. And I'm also going to put some text. So I'm going to do a new paragraph, ID equals my text. And the original house is in color. And just doing that is just, here it is, the original house is in color, here's my picture. Now it's time to do JavaScript. Now, because I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to show you that obviously you can do more than changing text, right? The inner HTML. We're going to change the source for the image and the text. So we're going to do two things at the same time, right? So I'm going to do paragraph here, only because I want some spacing. And we're going to do button type equals button. I always thought it was funny you have to do that twice. And then we're going to do onclick equals, and now it's when we start doing our Java. So document dot get element by ID, and the first thing we're going to change is the text. So I'm going to do my text, close that, inner HTML equals, and you selected the color house. That makes sense. And I'm gonna do that. Then after that, I'm gonna do document dot get element by ID, but this time we're gonna do my image. Image, spelled correctly. And if you will notice that now I'm going to change the source, and the source will be house, and I'm going to use the first one will be house color, so that's okay. Close that, and then we'll do you selected the color house, and that's it. So document.getElementById by ID of my text, enter HTML, change it to you selected the color house, and get element by ID of my image, and change the source to house color, and it's that JPG. And before I forget, I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste it. And the reason I want to do that is because I'm gonna do the black and white now. So you selected the black and white house, and of course that means I gotta change the file name to BW, and of course I've gotta put here black and white house. So far so good. So what I've done is obviously I have my original image. If I click one of the buttons, it will either do the color or the black and white. And I'm changing two things. In one single button click, I'm doing the image source and the text. And I want to make sure I have my extensions and all that. It looks okay. So we'll save that. We reload, obviously. Now I've added these two buttons. If I click on you selected the color house, you selected the color house. If I click on you selected the black and white house, it goes to black and white. So it changes this and it changes that. Color, black and white, color, black and white. And that is how you can do multiple statements, if you will, within an HTML. Within a JavaScript. Notice I put the semicolon in there, and I can change the source file and the inner HTML. And there it is. Now let's do a little bit of functions, if you will. So let's work on that. Now let's talk about functions. So as you can see, we can do multiple statements in one click here. But what if, what if it was a very big document, right? So in JavaScript, we can do this, and I'm gonna call this my third example. And in JavaScript, and if we want to do it, we can add what the script here, the script and slash script. We can do our JavaScript right there, and now we don't have to do all of it over here. So, and we can do a function. So we'll call this function, I don't know, we'll call it my function A, and you can see how it does it very similar to C++. So there's my function. I'm not putting any arguments or anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight from document all the way over here. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put it right here. And what I'm going to do is document.getElementById by ID my text, and I select the color house, and then document dot my image. So if you notice, I'm changing the inner HTML and the source, and I'm calling it function A. Now, I'm going to do another function, and I'm going to call it my function B. And I'm going to do the same for over here, which is from document all the way to here. There we go. And there it is. And it from here it jumped here only because of the length of it, but it's one single line. So I got function A and function B. So now I have my image, onclick type button, and I'm gonna do this here. Onclick equals, instead of this, I'm gonna call my function A. And over here, something similar. My function B. So what I'm doing, and I gotta put on here, select the White House, you selected, there we go, there we go. You selected the White House. So when I'm doing my buttons here, and it's gonna call the function A or function B depending on which one I'm clicking on, and I want to make sure that everything is correct. So I'm gonna go back here, get on my by E, you select the color house, and change the source. We don't need that extra there. See, it's so easy to do the little syntax error. So I got changing the source, changing the name, and changing the source. Yeah, and then of course I got this here and that there. So let's save it. I'm gonna reload it. The original house's color is in color. You select the color house, you select the black and white house. See, it does exactly the same thing. I've done nothing different. The only thing I did is moved it from here and put it into a function. So that's how you do functions in JavaScript. I will be doing way more of this in an upcoming tutorial when I'm finished with this on more functions. But obviously the whole point of this is a progression. We started with what you can do with JavaScript. You can do more things with JavaScript, more than one statement at a time. And now we can put them into the function inside the script. Now let's see how we start doing some little bit of organizing. So that's our next example, how to do organizing in JavaScript. All right, so we got the information out of the document part of my HTML, and I moved it to a script. And this is how you normally put scripts in a document. And if you're doing a small document, you have HTML, you got CSS and all that, you can do your scripts within the document. But if you really want to do, big documents, scripts work they have the same principle as CSS. You can do it in a document, but if you want one CSS to affect multiple files, you do it in a separate file. The same here happens with JavaScript. I can do my JavaScript within the document, no problem. And if it's something that is unique to that document, it's probably the best way to do it. But you can also have an external file with the extension JS. And when you do that, you can have more control of what you do. Because if you have a modification and the JavaScript modifies multiple files, all you have to do is edit that one file. So I have here my scripts.js, and you can see it's a comment. That's how you do a comment with double slashes. So looks like C++. I'm always comparing to C++. But anyways, I call it my script CSS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my functions. I'm going to X them out, put them in here. And there are my functions right there. And I'm just going to make a little bit more organized. Actually, I'm gonna do that here. I know, I like that to look pretty. There's nothing wrong with making things aesthetically better. See, looks better, right? All right, and I'm gonna save my script. So, and don't worry about these X's. Don't worry about it because don't ignore this. The same functions, A and B, But this time over here on the script, instead of having that there, I can tell my script where I want them. So I'm going to do the source equals, and it's going to be my scripts.js. You can see it right there. And so basically, I'm telling, instead of doing all my scripts or my functions or whatever, I'm telling, hey, you know what? Go look at this file. And this file contains this. Ignore these little X's. Don't worry about it. If I was using a plain text editor, you wouldn't see them. So I'm gonna go back here, and I saved it. I'm gonna reload the house original's color. Now it's the color house, and now it's the black house. Same example. Again, first I had them down here, then I changed them to functions, and now I moved the functions to my scripts. And that's how you do functions in there. That's how you do functions in an external file in JavaScript. Okay, before we continue, there is one other it's a JavaScript built-in function, just like in HTML. It's a built-in function called alert. And I'm gonna go to my JavaScript, and I'm gonna add another function here. I'm gonna call it function my function, and I'm gonna call it C, because that's all. And I'm gonna do a window dot alert, and that is the name of the function. And in that alert, I can put in there like I do hello world in JavaScript, and that's it. That's all my function C is going to do. I'm going to save it. I'm going to go here, and I got those buttons there, but I'm going to add another button. I'm going to do button type equals button. I always think it's a click. onclick equals my function C. And I'm going to I gotta do this here. There we go. What am I doing here? Window alert example. So I have a button, and it's going to call my function C. And so I'm going to save this. I'm going to show you what it does. I'm going to reload it. Again, here's my 3 buttons now. Again, I can do the house and color, black and white. But look what happens when I do the window alert example. Hello world in JavaScript. Yep, that's how you do a little pop-up window. And it works in, like I said, in any browser, doesn't matter. And to do that, all I did was window.alert and then put whatever message I want. There it is. That's how you do an alert in JavaScript. Okay, so now we know how to do alerts. We can do multiple functions. Here they are, my functions, A, B, and C. But now it's time to do something with another functions called the write. And I'm going to go ahead and do the function first. I call it function my function D. And I'm going to do document.write hello world. And that's it. And I'm going to do another function. I'm going to do 2 at a time. Function my function E document dot write. But this time, instead of hello world, I'm going to do 7 plus 12. So this function will display the word hello world. This will do 7 plus 12. And I'm going to save it. Now, write is different, by the way, than alert. Alert made a pop-up window. You saw the pop-up window right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just to differentiate, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, but I'm gonna call my function D. And this is a write example. And I'm gonna go ahead and what is it, third, fourth, I don't know. I'm gonna fourth. I don't know if it's the fourth or not. And then I'm gonna copy it, and I'm going to call function E. And this is a math, right? Well, I'll just put it right here, math. Arithmetic, I guess. I'm just gonna leave it like that, math. Let's double check. It is D and E, and so I'm calling for D and E. D and E, okay. So what is the difference? Well, let's reload it, and here are the new functions. Now, when I use the inner HTML and the source, you know, it changes these things right here, right? And if I do an alert, it makes a little pop-up window. But the contents in the window, in the web window, they stay the same. But I'm gonna call function D and E respectively. Here's what they look like. When I call D, a write example, look what's gonna happen. It's gonna write the word hello world, but the rest of the contents in my document have disappeared. The only way to get back is to reload the page. The math example is very similar, except I'm adding 7 plus 12. 7 plus 12 is 19, but now I can't do anything. That's it. The web page is done. Now, why would you use this? Well, there's two reasons behind it. First, this is a awesome escape way to do things. Let's say someone does, you know, let's say there's a, and I won't do this in this example, but let's say there was an if example, an if statement. If a condition is true, you want it to wipe out. Or maybe the password's incorrect, you want it to wipe out. You want to stop it right there. So the write function is perfect because it's going to erase the remainder of the contents. It's not gonna let you do anything else. So that's one thing. The other thing is the write function allows you to write web pages. I'm talking tags and elements from CSS or HTML. Now, at first you might think, well, if you do a document right, it erases everything. Why would I want to do that? I mean, the moment I do this, boom, that's it. I can't do anything else. Well, there is a reasoning behind this. So let's go ahead and do that in the last example of this first tutorial. We're going to incorporate some HTML documents, how you would do a web page, it's going to be a very small example of web page using the write statement. We're going to end up our tutorial with this last example. Here's my blank document. I showed you the power of the write, which obviously erases everything, right? And there's our JavaScript with all these. But I start with a blank document. Now, first let's start with the HTML part. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do A equals 5, B equals 10, C equals 15, right? And I'm going to do a paragraph break. And that's what I'm going to do for now. So when I reload this, it says A, B, and C. There they are. I'm going to use JavaScript. I'm going to do function. My function F is my new function. And by the way, in JavaScript, if the other functions are not used, like here I'm not using any other functions, it doesn't matter. It just ignores them. So you're not going to get an error message or anything like that. So it makes it very, very easy. So I'm going to do, first I'm going to declare some variables. Let A, B, and C declare some variables. And that's how easy let replaced var. So let me do an explanation before I continue. In JavaScript, you don't have to tell it like other programming languages. You don't have to tell her, oh, this is of type int, of type string, of type real or double. You just tell it, hey, declare 3 variables. You can't get any easier than that. Even good old basic, a GW basic, one of my favorites, you had to do a $sign if it was a string or something. You know, A versus A $sign. Not here, just declare them. Of course, here's my comments. And by the way, we used to do var instead of let. Now we use let. And I'm going to declare another variable. I'll let stra, which is going to be a string. Now, to assign variables, variable assignment, it's as easy as giving it a value. So we're going to do a equals 5, semicolon, b equals 10, c equals 15. So yep, there you go. A, B, and C. And obviously it is case sensitive, by the way. JavaScript is case sensitive. So we got A, lowercase b, and lowercase c, right? Now let's start with our stra declaration. And what I'm going to do is, basically what I want to do is reproduce here, but I'm going to do it in lowercase so that we can tell that we're using JavaScript. Otherwise, I would not know if it was working or not, at least for this example. So I'm going to do A equals, and even though it's a string, I can just do that. See, in any other language, you would have to convert it, convert the numbers to strings, most likely, and add the strings to the strings. Because if you convert a string to a number, you would get a 0. So, but here you don't have to do that. I just do that. Then I can do b equals plus b, c equals plus c, and then I'm going to do that right there. Notice how I'm using the paragraph tag from HTML. I can add it to this. And now I can do document.write, and I can do stra. So this is the function I'm calling. This is what it will show. I've added a button. No, I have not added a button yet. See, that's good. That's okay. Let's go ahead and add a button. I forgot to do that. So we'll do button type equals button, right? Onclick equals, and I'm going to call my function f, and I'm going to say click here for some arithmetic. Well, that way, so it looks in one line. And I'm going to save it. So now I'm putting a button that will call function f, and here is function f. I'm going to reload it, and now there it is right there. So we have it in uppercase, and the reason I did that and I put this in lowercase is so you can see when I click on it that it actually changes. And there it is, A, B, and C. So the new thing here is I put this little paragraph there right there. But now, and I'm printing stra. So why am I doing that? Well, stra can be equals stra. So it's equals the same plus, and now I can do some things like let's say a plus b plus, and then I'm gonna do a plus b, right? Plus, and I'm gonna do another paragraph. So now I know, and I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna reload it. So when I click here, it says a equals 10, b equals, a equals 5, b equals 10, c equals 15, a plus b 15. Now of course here, I should have done this right here. I didn't put the equal right there. So there. Now when I reload it, a plus b equals 15. 5 plus 10 equals 15. And I'm going to just copy this and do some more arithmetic. This time I'll do, how about C minus A? And of course I can do C minus A. And I'm going to save it, reload it, and when I do this, 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 minus 5 equals 10, right? I'm going to do, how about a product? About B. And of course we know in Normally they tell you put a little X there for multiplication, but we know that in program it's a product. But you know what? We can do the X right there. Doesn't really matter as long as over here I do it correctly. So B asterisk C, and we know that that is a product. So when I do that, B, which is 10 plus C, 150, right? And finally we can do a division. And again, I can do C, and we know that's the division by, and then we'll do A. So we'll do C slash A, and save it, reload it. When I click on it, there we go. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So I know I covered a lot on this, but again, all I'm doing here is putting the values, and I purposely put them on capital so that when I put the button, it goes to lowercase, right? That's the only thing. And the functions that are not used, they're ignore, so no problem. You can leave them as many. You can use one script for all your HTML files. Doesn't matter if the functions don't get used, they'll be ignored. Let is used for assigning a value. It doesn't matter if it's a string or a numerical. You declare in the same way. You can use the var. You can use the var, but this is the new way of doing things. To assign a value, you just tell it A equals whatever, B equals whatever. In fact, the string I did str A equals whatever I wanted. Also, I can add numbers and strings and calculations and HTML tags in a single line. When I document.write that, that's what I get right there, which is great. Now you can see where if I have a very complex write statement, but I can redo an entire web page from blank, which is great. Why would you want to do this? Imagine you're doing a document that you want it to work on iPhones and Androids and iPads and tablets and on laptops with different sizes of screen resolutions and browser sizes. You can use this. You can find out the size of the screen, and based on the size, call a different function, each one with a customized way of doing things. So this concludes the first JavaScript tutorial, part 1, I call it. I hope you stayed for the whole tutorial, and part 2 is coming up very soon. Until then, guys, hit like and subscribe if you really like it. That's all I can tell you. I'm not making money out of this. I'm just doing this because I want you to learn. Until next time.